Hi, my name is John Wren, and this is the Startup Show. We're here each Friday at noon Mountain Daylight Time to talk about starting a new career, new project, a new campaign, or a new business. So if you're starting in a new direction with your work, you're in the right place. Also, forward this along to any of your friends who might be wanting help as they start in a new direction. This could be recent graduates, people that have suffered from a layoff, people that have had a bright idea. Forward this along to them. They'll thank you, and so will I if you let me know what you've done. We share startup experience here. I've been doing this for a long time. Now, back when I started doing it, nobody was talking about startup. It is a different world today. And now there is a lot of talk about startup, but it seems like that's all there is. You know, this life is very short, so we encourage people to get started. A book came out not long ago, Harvard Business Review Press. It had pretty much the same message, just start. And, this idea of doing market research, making sure everybody agrees, I don't care if it's on a canvas or a piece of typing paper, it's not the way businesses actually get started. It seems like the more that we talk about startup, the fewer startups there actually are. So we're going to talk about startup for a half hour. That's probably enough for you. So go get started. If it's not enough, we encourage you to come and get together with other people. And first, if you don't just go get started, you've had an idea, you have a need to get started, and you're not starting, we call it bounce. The Small Business Chamber of Commerce startup method is comprised of 4 practices. Practices means we get better at them as we do them. And that first practice is bounce, because most good things come out of something bad. Somebody gets fired, they look back, they say, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Once, you have some perspective on it. At the time, it doesn't feel like it. But bounce is very important. Recovery. I used to play football, and we'd hit the blocking sled and then get up. And the coach would be on the sled, and he'd say, hit, and we'd hit. Recover, hit, recover. Recovery is getting back up into a good hitting position, bouncing. And we help people find whatever is going to be most helpful to them to bounce. It's different for everybody. And there are 12-step programs. There are all kinds of things. But this bounce, we have a questionnaire. We get together with you and sit down, and it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. And we want to help you bounce so that as you get started, as you grow, as you flourish, maybe you'll remember the Small Business Chamber of Commerce and thank us for helping you out. It's free and open to everybody. You just have to call, and I'll tell you when and where. 303-861-1447. That's the first practice, bounce. The second practice is imagination. Nothing. Now, you can go too far with this. Our imagination doesn't create a reality. It just doesn't. There's a real good book, One Simple Idea. Mitch has written a terrific book on this, but you can take it too far. My dad knew the value of imagination. He'd say, look around you. Everything you see, and this is true for you right now, wherever you're watching this, look around, look out the window. Everything you see at one point started as someone's idea. Now, does that mean if you have an idea, shazam, it's going to happen? No, not at all. But that imagination piece is absolutely critical. It's not complete, though. You need then to think. So that's our third practice, thinking. And then learn by doing. And we have groups for each one of these. For imagination, the Idea Cafe Startup Workshop, IDEA is an acronym for inspiration, or if you're a total left-brained thinker, identify the problem. But one way or another, you have something you're pursuing. I. D is develop alternatives. Some people call it green light thinking, chunking up. But we set aside criticism and just imagine. It's applied imagination. And then E is evaluate, and A, take action. But those are later. The green light thinking is what we do at the Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. And you learn some techniques there that you can use with friends. And you may never come back to another one, or you may come to next week. What we don't want you to do is to come every week. You don't need another burdensome meeting that you have to go to every week. So the Idea Cafe Startup Workshops helped a lot of people. We've been doing it for over 20 years now. And 5280 magazine says it's infused Denver with an entrepreneurial spirit. I hope we've had something to do with helping Denver be just a little bit better place to live. And now we're trying to spread it across the country, and that's why we've come up with this Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Inc. But the practices, bounce, imagination, thinking, and learning, we have groups for. Now, the learning group is based on what Ben Franklin did with his friends back in 1727. 21-year-old Ben Franklin and his more ingenious colleagues, he called them, started meeting each Friday night, and these were long meetings, 3-4 hours. But of course, there wasn't much on TV back then. And so Ben and his friends would gather together, and they developed a format for their meeting that I think was Ben Franklin's best invention. I learned about it through Training Magazine, started a group here in Denver, and I've been helping facilitate the start of Franklin Circles ever since. Now, you can start one just on your own. Just Google how to start a Franklin Circle. A wiki will come up that's mostly my stuff, but some other people have tweaked it a little bit, put pictures on it, made it look a little nicer. But Google how to start a Franklin Circle and just start one. But if you get stuck, you can't start it, or you maybe want to have a little bit different kind of group. Let's say you're a nuclear scientist and you want to get together with other nuclear scientists. That might be a harder job to pull off, and you might want to call and get some help with that. Or if you want to do a neighborhood group, I would love to talk with you because I want to help one or two get started so we can use you as a model for other people. My dream is that we have a Franklin Circle in every neighborhood by the 2018 Caucus. Colorado Caucus just happened. Terrible leadership. We need to reinfuse it with people that understand what it's about, and that could be you. If you'd like to start a neighborhood Franklin Circle, I would love to talk with you. I want to work personally with the first couple of people to get one started with your friends, just for free, right there in your own neighborhood. In Colorado preferably, but if you're somewhere else, that's okay, because we're going to start in Colorado, and I believe that if the Franklin Circle has the effect that I think it will on our Colorado Caucus, the Colorado Caucus will become our biggest export. So these are the practices that comprise the Small Business Chamber of Commerce startup method. We're writing this stuff all down. We're trying to formalize the group. Right now, it's no money in, no money out. This has been a labor of love, but I'm trying to take it to the next level. A priest told me, he said, I think you're helping people, John, but if you die right now, it will all go away. And so ever since, I've been trying to, now this is the cobbler's kids wear no shoes. I would never advise anyone to do what I've done. But what I've kind of learned is never to advise anyone, because who am I to say I'm smarter than you are? But sometimes, we don't know what we're thinking until we say it to someone. So by being a good listener, a lot of times that's the best value that I can provide. Now, the thinking practice, you'll notice I skipped over, and that's because you can participate in a group either tonight, Friday, or tomorrow, Saturday, at Panera Bread tonight, University of Denver tomorrow. And I would encourage you to come. These are free, open to everybody, no need to RSVP if you want to. There's a meetup.com group, Colorado Socrates Cafe Society, and it'll show you the meetings. But you can just show up also. Panera Bread, 16th and Market, right across from the Market Street station. That's tonight, Friday, at 6 o'clock, every Friday at 6 o'clock. So if you can't come tonight, maybe next week. Then Saturday at the University of Denver in the Anderson Academic Commons, what used to be called the Penrose Library. It's really a beautiful place. If you haven't been there, you should come and just take a look at it. Come a little bit early. And that starts at 6:30 each Saturday, 6:30 to 8. And we're in the current periodicals in the comfortable chairs. So come a few minutes early if you want. I'll be there a few minutes early at either one of them. So that is for the practice of thinking. We pick a topic, we share our thoughts, ask each other questions. I think it helps us be better communicators, and I believe it helps make us better thinkers. You know, if you read a textbook on critical thinking and that kind of thing, I'm sure that may do a certain amount of good, but it's sort of like reading a book on, nuclear physics and then expecting I'm going to build a power plant myself. Sometimes what goes on inside our brain is best learned from experience. And so come and see what you think. We've been doing it now for over 20 years, I guess. And I feel like it's really helped me, and other people feel the same way. So we're going to keep doing them. If you're not in the Colorado area, just Google Socrates Cafe. Chris Phillips wrote a book called Socrates Cafe. I recommend it to you. And it inspired us to begin starting these little groups here in Denver. If you start one in Colorado, let us know. We'll put you on the list of meetings for the Colorado Socrates Cafe Society. So those are the practices, and that package is what's sponsoring this show. And beginning soon, we're going to be having people on the show to talk about their startup experience. If that maybe would be you, how did you start whatever it is, a romance? Everybody started something. You started school, you started today. If you want to share a startup experience with us, we'd love to have you on the show. Give me a call Monday or Tuesday morning, 303-861-1447. And today, though, it's a little bit different show. We're going to talk about the Colorado Caucus, which is, I don't know, has been under attack. Maybe the attack has ceased. We're massing an army across the state to oppose Initiative 98. If they go out and start passing that petition, we want to have volunteers standing behind every petition signer in front of the grocery stores, which we all love, don't we, when they ambush us there. Well, you did it. Number 98, you should just say no. Really just say no to all of them. The initiative, really, the only time an initiative should be used is if the people overwhelmingly want something and the legislators just won't listen to it. And you can't get it through the legislature, well, then do the initiative route. But what they're doing now is they're cooking up stuff. It's never been in the legislature. They haven't even tried to pass it as normal legislation, and they put it out as initiative. Why? Because of the profit motive. There's people making money off of these initiatives, and it's either monetary or it's power that they want to build for themselves. But this many initiatives is bad business. Now, one of the initiatives is to raise the number of signatures that are needed for the initiative. Well, that's not a good idea, because if there is a need for an initiative, why make it so that only just this mega bucks thing can get on the ballot? That's not good either. But I say just say no to all the initiatives. I don't think there's any of them that should be voted on this time. Now, if I'm wrong about that, call me and I'll correct my message next week. But I don't see any of the initiatives, and especially 98, which will take us back to the future in a bad way. It's going to go back pre-Colorado Caucus to what the political bosses used to do, is just gather their people together in a room and beat them into submission. Smoke-filled back rooms is what 98 is on track to do. Why the Denver Chamber of Commerce is allowing their executive director to get out on the point for this is astonishing. I mean, I really had much more respect for them than what I see happening. And so there she is. Joe Blake's right behind her. What are you thinking about? Now, Dan Ritchie is a tremendous man. This 98 came out of this Building a Better Colorado. I think he's taken his name off that. I haven't seen him speak up for it. He helped him get it started. But I frankly think Dan Ritchie must be embarrassed about what's come out of Building a Better Colorado. They went around to 40 cities. You might recall I was just going crazy when they first started this because they wouldn't tell me or anyone else where the meetings were. They'd invite their friends and then say it was a town hall meeting. They're getting the temperature of the public. Well, that's just not true. These were exercises, and finally, they opened them up about halfway through the 40 meetings. Maybe that was always their intention, but I'm not so sure. But I stopped screaming and I actually went to one. And, once they open them up, there might even be some good to doing this kind of thing. But there's really no need for it because we have a caucus every 2 years. And it's not just one in a community. We divide up into like-minded people, and there's a need for a competition of ideas. You want at least 2 political parties. Multi-parties, I'm not so sure about, because the problem with a third party is it always has the unintended consequence of electing whoever they'd least like to see elected. So, the conservative runs a candidate as a third party candidate. Who does that help? The conservative candidate and Republicans, Democrats, whichever it is that year. Sometimes the conservative candidate is the Democrat and the liberal candidate is the Republican. You kind of have to look at the party label, but also what is the person themselves saying. And sometimes a third party, that can make sense. Although I can't think of a good example of that, but I'm sure there must be some. My libertarian friends, I tell them I think they'd be better off as a pressure group, because when they run a candidate, who is their candidate? Well, whoever it is, and they run as at least a fiscal conservative. They want to reduce the size of government, reduce taxes, the libertarians do. And whoever they run is going to give them not that, but just the opposite, because they drain off votes from the candidate that's closest to their position. So I'm not so sure about a third party, although I'm open. They're doing this fusion voting, or this voting where you vote for more than one candidate. If your candidate doesn't win, it drops off, and then it's scored again for the 2 remaining votes. If those don't win, it's dropped off again. I just instinctively don't like that, but I'm not sure why. So this is not about third parties. I think everybody should be treated fairly. I'm open to the idea that maybe they're not being treated fairly right now. But the 2-party system has served us well for 235 years until the last couple of election cycles, especially. And here in Colorado, when it stopped working for us was when we tried this crazy idea of a presidential primary, which they're bringing up again. Here's the problem with a presidential primary as opposed to choosing the delegates through the caucus. It just kills the caucus. We know that because it happened here in Colorado. We had 3 election cycles with a presidential primary, and it almost destroyed the caucus system. We still haven't recovered from it because people are attracted to the caucus by the fact that it involves discussion about who's at the top of the ticket as the presidential candidate. And people that are active in the party want to come and talk about that, because that's their party. The other crazy idea is, well, yeah, it's just their party, but anybody should be able to come into their home and vote. Really? Do you let them come in and help make out the grocery list? Should everybody be able to come in and tell me what I should buy at this? This is for one political party or the other. Where's this crazy idea come from that anybody should just be able to wander in off the street and participate in that party's caucus? That's absolutely nuts. But there it is, one of the features of amendment, this initiative 98. So no on 98, no on any of the initiatives as far as I'm concerned. And now I'm going to talk about the biggest networking event in the state, and it's going to be tomorrow down in Colorado Springs. And that's the Republican State Convention. Then the following weekend, the Democrats have their state convention. And you can go and just hang out in front and hand out information if you want. Now, getting inside is a little bit of a trick. We considered for Save the Caucus having a table at the conventions, but they are just priced so high that we decided maybe that's not a good use of our time. And we're really out recruiting people that are not party activists, which are the ones that end up as delegates, and rightfully so. I mean, if they've been working hard for the party, they should be the ones that are there. and they'll do what's best for their political party. These people say, well, I need to vote. I need to go in and pull that lever so I can be it. That is just not good thinking. Now, you should be able to pull the lever in the primary on every other office but president. President's a different animal. Stop and think about it. It used to be that we didn't have any kind of a direct participation in who was president. And over in England, they elect a new parliament, and the parliament chooses a prime minister. But you have to have a leader that the people that are there in Washington want. And so definitely they need the support of their party. So this is a consensus building exercise, and it's designed to filter out the people that don't have the wherewithal, don't have the support at any level, but especially for president. And so what we do here in Colorado is a good exercise as it is now. The problem with it wasn't the system, but the extraordinarily poor leadership. When I saw the two state chairs on television the weekend before the caucus, not after the caucus, this is before the Tuesday caucus, they're on TV and they're both locked arm saying, the one thing we agree on is we have to get rid of the caucus. Well, why do you suppose they say that? Because getting rid of the caucus vastly increases their power. Caucuses get together, these conventions, they're tied to the caucus, it's nipping at their heels, and it should. I've suggested that the first order of business, both tomorrow, Republican convention, next Saturday at the Democrats convention, first order of business should be to get the current state chair off the stage. And there are people in both parties that know the rules. There are definitely ways to do that. I'm not going to go beyond suggesting this as an idea, but whoever stands up tomorrow and says, point of order, we do not have a Republican, or next week, we do not have a Democrat chairing this meeting. I move that the current person standing at the podium removed themselves from our political party when they were on TV, encouraging the demise of the system they were entrusted with. Do I have a second to that motion? And if somebody will do that tomorrow, it's going to do the Republicans a tremendous favor. If somebody does it that following Saturday for the Democrats, you'll be doing the Democrats a tremendous favor. Get rid of these two leaders. They are not Republicans. They're not Democrats. Get them off the stage. We don't need Tammany Hall back in Denver. If you'll go to our site, there's more about this, caucus.org, caucus.org. Now, I am biased in this. Save the Caucus is a Colorado political committee. I'm the registered agent. If you go to caucus.org, you'll get more information. The first thing you'll see there is a video of who was the boss tweet of Colorado and who it was that Governor Honest John Shafroth formed the Colorado Caucus to kill. The caucus was intended to clean up politics in Colorado, and it did so very effectively. Boss tweet of Colorado mended his ways a bit. Unfortunately, Shafroth died, the boss tweet guy was left, so we hear almost nothing about John Shafroth. He should be a Colorado hero. If John Evans' name is taken off the mountain because of the craziness at my alma mater, DU, our founder, John Evans, they're coming after him, across the country. There are these take their name off of it movements. If they take John Evans' name off Mount Evans, it ought to be Mount Shafroth, and I'd support that. Well, we try to keep this within a half hour. I'm going to be down at Socrates Cafe this evening, and we're going to do something special tonight. At 4:30, we're going to have one last gathering of the grassroots rally. 4:30, show up. I'll answer your questions about the caucus. Show up, especially if you're going to be down at Colorado Springs tomorrow, if you're going to be with the Democrats the following week, and you'd like to talk more about this idea of making a motion to get the chairs off the stage before the meeting starts. And come if you're for the idea, come if you're against it, because we'll hopefully I'll have a good discussion. That's at 4:30. Then at 6 o'clock, the same place, Socrates Cafe. And we pick a topic. There's no homework to do. Come in. If you got something on your mind, put it out. We might choose your topic. But we choose a topic, share what we think about it, and then ask each other questions. The Friday night group's fairly informal. Saturday is more structured, but in some ways much easier for the beginner, because the Friday night group, the rules are harder to understand because they pretend they don't have any rules, but they do. And Saturday, we kind of have an agenda that we follow. So tonight, Panera Bread, 16th and Market. Tomorrow, Saturday, University of Denver and the Anderson Academic Commons in the current periodicals, and that's at 6:30 to 8. So, getting a little bit of a frog, going to sign off early. This is John Wren. Let's go get started. Thanks for watching. Excuse me.